Alright, welcome back guys. Day 5, page 5. Here we go, what's up? Diggs, BTW7, yeah, what's up? We are going to get started, hopefully finish off this first week of writing with a great end, because I think it's gone pretty well. I think yesterday was a very instructive day for sure. Everyone sort of had a chance to see what a real kind of hard writing session looked like. The beginning, I really didn't like where that page was going, and then keep that slog going, because it usually turns out well. You've just got to persevere. So after almost 2 hours, that single page turned out pretty good. So let's read through everything for everyone who's joining for the first time. It's always that best practice is just to read through what you've already written, and you can make a few edits, and hopefully you'll even get that sense of where the next page wants to go. Just one thing to note as well, I'm only doing 1 page per day, but those pages add up, right? Those pages do add up. So, even a little bit a day, by the end of the month, you've got quite a few pages, and that's pretty good. It's very encouraging, and you can always set higher goals later when you're starting to feel a bit more confident. But I do recommend just those tiny goals, 1 page a day. It's only about 330 words, but it really does make a difference when you add them all together. Do let me know, everyone in the chat, if you can hear me. Any problems with the audio? We don't want a repeat of day 3, Wednesday. I think we're still good though. I think we're all good. So let's just zoom in that little bit more here so you guys have a much better view. Okay, and here we go. Let's read this through. Chapter 1. I'm going to tell you a story which you'll believe, and then I'll tell you the truth which you won't. It goes like this. 3 days after I arrived in Japan, I came back to my hotel and the concierge told me that a package had been left for me. She was wrong. I wasn't expecting a package. I didn't know anyone in Japan, nor had I told anyone that I was coming here. So who could be sending me a package? But she held it out to me all the same. It was a standard brown envelope, about A4 in size with no obvious markings, not even my name. I asked who'd left it, but the concierge told me that it was her colleague who had accepted the package, and so she didn't know. Needless to say, I shouldn't have taken it. But I've never been one to make good decisions. The package felt heavier than it looked, and I heard a metallic sound inside. I'd once watched a documentary about those postal bombs back in 19XX. They'd been filled with all sorts of scrap metal as shrapnel, and probably made the same noise just before they'd gone off. Not that I'm one of those paranoid nutcases, but I do have an ex-wife. No, said a voice in my head, Sabrina wouldn't kill me via unmarked postal bomb. She'd use FedEx. Is everything all right, sir? Asked the concierge. I don't suppose you'd open this for me. Sir? No, I didn't think she would. Nor did I get the chance to convince her because another guest, some big fat American woman, barged me out of the way in order to check herself in. My God, I thought, she could have killed us all. I took the package back to my room on the 2nd floor, sat at the desk, and after a few minutes of silent contemplation, I opened the package and looked inside. The metallic sound had been made by one of those puzzle boxes, the kind where you have to slide around the tiles on the lid in order to solve the picture, at which point the box unlocks. There was also a slip of paper inside. Its message had been written in cursive hand and read as follows. I know why you're here, Mr. Sharp. I know what you're looking for. Be at the Green Bird restaurant at 7 p.m. P.S. Bring the puzzle box. I rushed to the window and looked down at the street. I saw pedestrians, all sorts, going about their business, but nothing stood out as odd. Nobody looking up at my window, nobody in the adjacent building looking across into my room. I went to the door, checked the hallway. Nothing there either. Turning back to my room, nothing seemed out of place. I'd left the do not disturb sign on the door, and I knew the maid hadn't been in because the bed was still unmade from the morning. I checked the closet. Nothing appeared out of place. My single duffel bag still had everything that it should have. Nothing was missing. I rang down to reception to see if anyone had called the room today, but nobody had. I paced back and forth, staring at the opened package. Who was this person? How did they know who I was? And more importantly, how did they know why I was here? And who the hell sends a puzzle box anyway? Not Sabrina, that was for sure. She hated puzzles. And besides, she'd have written the message in blood. The alarm clock showed just after 6:15 in the evening. I knew there was a flight back to London at 7:10. If I hurried, I could make the airport in time. No. I'd spent too long getting to this point. If I'd missed this opportunity now, I'd never get it back again. But I couldn't take any chances. I called down to the concierge and had them order me a taxi to the Green Bird restaurant. Then I grabbed the puzzle box and headed out. In the back of the taxi, I examined the puzzle box. It was made of black onyx, hard and cool to the touch. The tiles on the lid were metallic, and although the picture was scrambled, it seemed to be some kind of landscape. No way to tell where, though. I tried sliding around the tiles, but I was too flustered to have any patience. How the hell had someone found me? Damn, I cursed, and the taxi driver shot me a look in the rearview mirror. I gave him a dirty look back. Problem? I said. Traffic's bad, he said meekly, and then he gives a reason. I told him to step on it. We moved through the streets of Shinjuku. This was the red light district, I knew. Lots of gambling, prostitution, and lowlives this side of town. The kind of people I deal with a little too much for my liking. Then again, that's how I'd met Sabrina. I turned my attention back to figuring out who was messing with me. It didn't make any sense. Nobody could have known I was coming to Japan. I'd planned everything meticulously, right down to the cover ID I'd made. The taxi pulled up about 30 minutes after we'd left the hotel. The driver told me the Green Bird was about halfway down the bustling street to our left. I couldn't miss it. But I walked straight past the place without giving it a single glance. I wasn't about to just walk into some random restaurant without checking out the place first. I had no idea who or what I was dealing with, and if things went to hell, like they often did, I needed to know I could get out quickly. There was an alleyway beside the restaurant. It had a fire escape going to the roof and a couple of dumpsters that I could smell all the way from the street. There was a homeless guy slumped against one of the dumpsters with a needle sticking out of his arm. Nobody seemed to care. I checked my watch. It was 5 to 7. 5 minutes before I'd been told to be here. That I was walking into a trap was obvious, but I'd come too far now. 3 years looking for it, I couldn't back off now. So I took a breath and walked into the Green Bird, straight into a trap. The place was empty except for one table in the middle of the room. The woman sitting at it looked up at me as I entered. She was young and good-looking, had those long lashes and sticky red lips. She smiled. I should have run straight out of there. Let's put that in, straight out of there. But 2 bruisers in cheap black suits stepped up behind me and blocked the entrance. The woman checked her watch and smiled her red lips. She motioned to the seat opposite her, and it wasn't really a question. I glanced at the fire door in the far right of the room. I might not have been as big as the bruisers behind me, but I was sure as hell faster. I thought about the homeless guy slumped against the dumpster. No doubt these 2 would trip over him if they tried to chase me. I joined the woman at a table, but said nothing. "There's a story we tell children," she said, speaking in Japanese like she knew I could understand her, about a troublesome tanuki who plagued an honest farmer for days on end. One day the farmer laid a trap and caught the tanuki. He tied the tanuki up and told his wife not to untie it before he got back from the market and made a soup. Cry and cry did the tanuki to be let free. Now the farmer's wife was kind and took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it did the tanuki kill her and chop her into pieces and make a soup out of her. The tanuki then shape-shifted into the form of the farmer's wife, and when the farmer came home, the tanuki fed him the soup. The woman snapped her fingers, and from the kitchen came a waiter who put 2 bowls of steaming, I think this has got to be steaming, right? Steaming soup in front of us. The woman smiled at me. "Go ahead," she said. I glanced at the fire door again. "That's a children's story?" I asked her, but my feet were dancing under the table. The woman took a spoon of soup and licked her lips. I guess she didn't appreciate my charms. "My name is Kyori Matsumoto, Yakuza Captain 18 and she who lays claim to the 5th District, Shinjuku, of the great city, Tokyo." "James Sharp," I said, spooning my own soup. Troublesome tanuki. And that's where we left off yesterday. So we've got this great little scene. It needs a little bit of refinement in this, this whole bit, but the idea is there, right? The idea is that we've got this, powerful Yakuza captain who, clearly likes to talk, and we've got our guy who is who's cool. He's a bit more, he's got an attitude problem, and he's more terse, and that is one of the things we're going to talk about today when we continue this dialogue, is that you want your characters, whichever 2 or 3 characters are speaking, And ideally, you don't really want more than 2 characters speaking, you know, in a conversation at once. It's just less confusing for the reader. But you want to make those 2 characters as different as possible. Okay, so they should sound different. So if one is very loquacious and likes, you know, words and likes to speak a lot, then the other should be very much, you know, a monosyllabic character, if possible. That's really where you get that the opposites, the conflict. Everything is in conflict, right? Obviously, these 2 are, you know, protagonist and antagonist. It seems at the moment we've got, you know, this James Sharp character. Still not sure about the names here, but whatever. You know, James Sharp and against Yakuza Captain 18, you know, Kyori Matsumoto, and you know, she's just introduced herself in that really sort of powerful way. You know, you can see the camera zooming in, and you can see her just, you know, giving it a dead stare as she delivers that, you know, Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th district, Shinjuku, of the great city, Tokyo. You know, it's powerful, powerful stuff. And then he's just, you know, James Sharp, you know, troublesome Tanuki. You know, he gets it. He gets where she's coming from. He understands the subtext, all of that stuff that we talked about yesterday with this story, this folk tale that that was found online. You know, he gets it. So we understand these characters, they understand what's going on, and now we're going to continue this conversation. So let's get our let's get into the zone of writing. We kind of know what's going. We know where this scene roughly must go, I think. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to sketch out what this page has got to look like. So page 5, these 2 characters are now sitting opposite each other. We have 2 bodyguards in the background, some bruisers, and this guy is essentially, you know, trapped in an empty restaurant with his adversaries. He has one possible escape route, which is the fire escape. So immediately we have an idea of what a potential last line might be on this page, and that is like this. Maybe he tries to make a run for it. Okay, so something will happen on this page, and then this guy will be forced, Mr. James Sharp is going to be forced to, you know, make a break for it. So let's type that in as a potential for the compelling last line, and that gives us something to shoot for. So compelling last line, you know, I made a break for the fire door. I made a break for the fire door. So it's something potentially like that. So let's just get that in. The other things that have to happen in this scene, well, we still have the puzzle box, right? He's got that in his pocket. So maybe we find out why she sent that. So puzzle box, you know, why did this Kyori Matsumoto send him the puzzle box? Why did she send it to him? That's one possible thing. The other possible thing is, you know, well, the obvious thing is, you know, what do you want from me? What does, we'll just keep that in actually. What do you want from me? And all the questions that our protagonist was asking in the taxi ever since he got that package. You know, how did this person find me? Where did we leave all those questions? Right. How the hell did someone found me? All of these things, these are the questions that our guy really wants to get answered. So, you know, what do you want from me? How did you find me? These are questions. Now, we don't necessarily need our protagonist to ask these point blank in such a fashion. You know, how did you find me? Who are you? All that kind of thing. We can do it. We can do it in a much more subtle way. But again, we just want to sketch out the general idea of the scene. Usually, it seems, I don't know if you guys have been following this as well, but as I look back at these videos, you know, it definitely helps me to see my own writing process. Very, very eye-opening, actually. But if we can hit about 3 good points, that basically is the page. So all you really need is 3 bullet points right here, 3 targets to hit on the page, and that's your page, right? That is your page. So then 3, if this is going to be our compelling last line, then we know that, you know, Miss Matsumoto, this Yakuza captain, you know, she makes a threat. She's got to make some kind of a threat, something like that. And then that compels our protagonist to get out of there, right? He makes a break for the fire door. It's something like that. Makes a threat, or maybe the bodyguards come in. Something happens. The bodyguards come in, and come in and try to attack our guy. It's something like that. But that's basically how I see the scene at the moment in my head. Again, I'm just coming to this today, fresh. It's morning. Let's see where it goes. But that's a general sketch. What do you guys think? Any ideas? Okay. All right. So I've been thinking about this also. The whole of the last day. I'm trying to think about this puzzle box. Why did she send it to him? And I think here's an idea. So we said that maybe in the puzzle box there would be a set of keys, and at the top of the puzzle box, the picture would be the place, the location where like a door, a building, and the keys inside the puzzle box would then allow the protagonist to get into that building, so that the two things coincide with each other. That's an idea, and maybe I will use that. But here's another idea. Suppose that this puzzle box is completely innocuous. It's completely irrelevant to the story. So, for example, you've got... the reader's expectation at the moment is that, this puzzle box this must be, really important to the story. We want to subvert all the expectations that the reader has. Okay, that is critical to writing a compelling thriller. You always have to subvert the expectation. So here's what I'm thinking is that maybe our captain, Yakuza captain, she says she forces protagonist, forces protagonist to solve the box under pressure, to solve the puzzle box under pressure, or threat of death, something like that. Just bear with it, or threat of, she says, like, if you don't solve that puzzle box within the next 2 minutes, these two, i.e. her bodyguards, are going to shoot you in the head, right? So just something like that, because she's testing our protagonist. She wants to know that this guy is capable, that he's a smart guy and capable enough of something, of dealing with high pressure situations. And then at the end, right, once he proves that, obviously, he opens the puzzle box, he finally gets into it, and what's inside is, something just like, one of those wet wipes that they use that they give you at the end of a meal, and she just, sort of dabs her mouth with it after having eaten the soup, and she says, well done, I want to hire you for a job, right? It's, something like that. So perhaps then, maybe I'm trying to answer some of the questions that we've already had. Biggest one potentially is, why is Mr. Sharp our protagonist in Japan in the first place? So let's just suppose that Mr. Sharp is a thief, and he's been hired to steal from to steal something from a safe belonging to this antagonist, Kyori Matsumoto. Okay, but now, of course, Kyori Matsumoto, she's already been onto him, right? She's onto him. She's like, no, I know why you're here. I'm one step ahead of you. I know who hired you. I know why you're here. You're here to steal from me. Well, actually, Mr. Sharp, you're going to be working for me instead. So the scene goes, it's that kind of a scene. That might work too. So, but of course, she's going to have a little bit of fun with him first. She's going to test him out. She's going to say, well, you were hired to steal something from me, and now I'm going to put you to work, but only if you can prove that you're worth the effort, because clearly you're not as good as you think you are at your job, because I found you. So maybe it's something like that. So okay, let's go with that, and we can always we can always change it as we go. How do you guys think about that idea? What do you guys think about that? Okay, let's give it a try. So okay, so obviously she's not just going to say outright, you know, you were hired to steal from me. She's going to say, so if I may, what brings you to Japan? You know, something like that. What brings you to Japan? So she's troublesome Tanuki. Well, how does this go? So again, just read that conversation again. She tells him this whole story, like, you know, I know that you're a troublemaker. I know why you're here. She's already said it in the subtext. You know, you're a troublemaker and I've caught you, right? You're the Tanuki, I'm the farmer. I've caught you, except in this case, I'm not going to untie you like the farmer's wife did. You know, you're going to be, you know, chopped up. You're going to be killed. So, okay, she who lays goes, right? James Sharp said, spooning my own soup, troublesome Tanuki. Right, so let's say, again, you know, she didn't react to my, whatever, my charms. He's not really being charming, he's being annoying. Again, she didn't react to my charms. Instead, she, you know, continued to eat her soup, you know, and probably, I'm imagining this Kyori Matsumoto, she's young, she's probably, you know, very, very dainty. All her moves, all her motions are very, she moves with a lot of poise and grace, because she's a bit of a, essentially a bit of a princess in the sense that she's a very powerful woman. She's like royalty, almost, albeit royalty of the underground. You know, she's part of the Yakuza. So again, she didn't react to it. She said she continued to eat her soup. Her body was, you know, erect. Okay, so again, we don't want to use that was verb. So she sat upright, you know, sort of tall and proper, and all her movements looked like a you know, a ballet. Looked like a ballet dancer, something like, whatever. Again, we can make these sentences better. I kind of know what I mean, but that sentence doesn't really make sense yet. Okay, we'll come back to that. Again, all the observations that your characters make inform you about them. So, you know, our guy is clearly a very observant fellow. So, we need to include all those observations within this. Okay. Okay. So perhaps let's bring in the puzzle box immediately. Maybe she says, you know, do you? Or we don't even need the do you, right? Just the puzzle box. The puzzle box. She said eventually. You can imagine the situation here. So after this exchange, there's a little bit of a silence, right? There's a little bit of an awkward silence, right? So how do characters react to these awkward silences? You know, I'm just gonna reference that here, and that's a very interesting thing to do. So awkward silence. There is tension. How does our guy, you know, react? And that's going to be some line there. Okay, and then the puzzle box, she said eventually, you know, and I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table. So, okay. And you know, he's probably going to say, you know, nice gift. You know, it's a, you know, he wants to find out, you know, this question, but he can't say, you know, why did you send it to me? You know, that's a bit too overt. So he takes it out of his pocket and put it on the table, and then you know, she's like, still unsolved. Still unsolved, I see. And you know, so this is that idea that I said here. Maybe, you know, that if Sharp was, that she's testing him, she's about to test him. She's about to see whether this guy is worthy enough to work for her, because that's her end goal potentially. That this guy's been hired to steal from her. She found out about it, tracked him down, told him to come to the Greenbird restaurant, and now she's gonna either kill him or hire him to go and steal something from somebody else, you know, one of her enemies. And being a Yakuza captain, those stakes can then escalate quite quickly. You guys following this train of thought? You understand what I'm saying? Do let me know in the comments. But that's basically where my mind is at. So the puzzle box said eventually, I took it out and put it on the table. Still unsolved, I see. Okay. She said, okay. I didn't like the way she said it. Okay, so he didn't like the way I say it. That was the same kind of tone that Sabrina, the ex-wife, again, bringing one thing that we have talked about, you know, a couple of times, is constantly self-reference your own work. So we've been talking about the ex-wife on every page almost, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because it just it keeps the plot and it keeps all the elements very tight, right? And that's something that really does help solidify and make very vivid the story in a reader's mind. They don't have too many different things to focus on. They can grasp the entire essence of the story quite easily in the mind. Now, that doesn't mean it's a simple story by any stretch, right? It can be a very complicated one. But, you know, if you look at Game of Thrones and all the books that you know, George R.R. Martin has written, they're huge volumes, right? Huge volumes, and there are lots and lots of different characters. It's very hard to just, you know, keep the entire universe in your head as a reader, and that's not, you know, that's not to say it can't be done, and you know, we all do it, but it's much harder than, say, you know, a story with only you know, 4 or 5 characters at the most. And in fact, that's actually one thing that let me recommend a book here on writing by Albert, I think it's Albert Zimmerman, you know, first class agent, represents, you know, Ken Follett and some really, really top authors. And in his book, he says, certainly for a first time author, you should focus on just, you know, about 4 characters, and you can really delve deeply into who they are, and you can, you know, really make the story very tight, make the plot tight. So same kind of thing here, always self-reference, right? Self-reference the own work. Whatever's come before should be kept repeating throughout the novel until everything is resolved. So, okay, so she says, still unsolved, I see. She said, I didn't like the way she said it. That was the same kind of tone that Sabrina used when I came home. This is the ex-wife, remember? So when I came home late from a job. You know, still alive then? Yeah, that's what Sabrina used to say. So we can see, obviously, they had this very strained relationship. Maybe, you know, obviously, if this guy was a thief, or he is a thief, that's obviously going to have some kind of that's going to put a strain on any relationship, because, you know, they're constantly in fear that, you know, potentially one of them is going to get sent to prison. So, okay, obviously these lines are just you know, that needs to be made much more. It needs to be easier to read. It doesn't read very nicely at the moment, but I can always go back. So, okay, so our protagonist, what does he want? Remember, people don't speak in order to express themselves. They speak in order to get something. That's why we all speak. So it's good to keep in mind what each character wants. So if our Yakuza captain, she wants to test our protagonist, then all of her dialogue is going to be all of her dialogue needs to contain that within the subtext. If our protagonist wants to know, you know, why and how, what do you want from me and how did you find me, then all of his dialogue needs to contain that within its subtext. So okay, that means so she says, you know, the puzzle box still unsolved, I see, she said, and right. Maybe, okay, so if our guy says, why, you know, what the hell am I doing here? Still unsolved, right? So, no, I don't think he's going to say that. If this, okay, thinking logically, if he gets annoyed by something that she has just said, then he is going to, he's not going to be thinking quite logically. Remember, this guy has an attitude, he has a bit of a temper, and, you know, this antagonist has just reminded him of Sabrina, that tone that he doesn't like. So still unsolved, I see. You know, there's another way this scene could go, is just our protagonist, he just smashes the puzzle box onto the ground, you know, breaks it open, essentially. That could be actually a very, very good, actually, you know what, I like that a lot. I threw the box. Yes, okay, and then we know exactly what it is. Okay, I threw the puzzle box onto the ground, and it cracked open. I threw the I don't want to use that word because okay, and it cracked open, and then, you know, he sort of just, you know, looks back at Kyori Matsumoto, and he says, you know, done, right? You know, and he says done, right? So she's like, you know, open this and I'll give you the job and I won't kill you. And she's expecting him to go and, you know, sweat and, you know, try and solve this damn little puzzle box, sliding around these tiny tiles on top. And he's just, you know, like, nah, smashes it on the ground. And it's that very unexpected, but at the same time, inevitable conclusion to how this guy is gonna get out of this scene. She's like, you've got 2 minutes to solve the puzzle box, and she's like, obviously he's never gonna solve it, you're gonna get shot. He's like, boom, done, right? And he takes out whatever's in there, and that would probably get a reaction out of this cool-headed Matsumoto, this cool-headed Yakuza captain. So I like that idea. So, okay, so what's the name? So Kyori says, again, just sketching out the scene here, we will turn these all into better sentences in a minute, but Kyori says, you know, you have 2 minutes. Wow, okay, 2 minutes to solve the box. Otherwise, my 2 men, you know, will. This is very heavy-handed. Give me a break, guys. This is just a sketch. Otherwise, my 2 men will. You know, will kill you. It's not going to be that, but that's the idea. Otherwise, my 2 men will kill you. she meant it. You know, that was obvious. Or that I could see. That I could see. You know, her 2 bodyguards, her 2 men. Her 2 men, they sort of, you know, they just reach, they're sort of just reaching for, they pulled out their guns. Let's just say they actually do just pulled out their guns and aimed them at my head. Something like that. And then he just, you know, very coolly, maybe he waits for the minute. Oh, that's even better. So I sat back in my seat, you know, and let the clock run down. You know, 1 minute, 1 minute, 30. You know, the bodyguards are exchanging glances. Exchanging glances. You know, this surely she's like raising an eyebrow. Raises an eyebrow. She's like, what the hell are you doing? You know, solve the puzzle box. Otherwise you're going to get shot. And then, you know, with, you know, 10 seconds left on the clock, he smashes the puzzle box. It could be like that, or maybe he's just not even that guy. Maybe he's just going to throw the box down straight away and just say, you know, I have no time. I'm not here to play games. He just smashes the puzzle box. He could be something like that, or maybe even he throws it not at the ground. Maybe he throws it against, you know, he throws it at one of the bodyguards' heads, and he throws it hard enough and accurately enough that it does. It not only knocks out the bodyguard, but it also cracks the puzzle box, cracks open, and, you know, and then he goes done. So this is potentially that Jack Reacher type of scene where Reacher just annihilates the competition, right? He just annihilates the enemy in a very cool and quick and very calculated way, and then, you know, we get the one-liner at the end, you know, done. So it could be something like that. Okay, so I think we've got the idea of that. We still want to know about that. Okay, so the scene is actually pretty much sketched out now. So this is good. We can go and basically put it in. It's quite funny how that works, isn't it? It's just suddenly you have the page. So okay, guys, let me know though if you guys have any better ideas, you know, for what might happen on this page. This is just the first draft, but I think this is quite interesting now. So troublesome Tanuki. Right, so she continues to eat the soup. She sat upright, toilet prop, and all her movements looked like a ballet dancer. You know, we sat there. We sat there for 2 minutes, you know, saying nothing, and you just want to build that awkward moment, saying nothing. The only sound again, trying to set the scene, trying to immerse the reader. We want to use as many senses as we can. So the only sound coming from, you know, it's the slurping of the soup, right? That's basically what's going on. So we've got these two in the in this restaurant, in the empty restaurant, the antagonist and the protagonist, and we're trying to build the tension because, you know, at the end of this scene, he's going to throw down that puzzle box, smash it open, and it's going to be a bit of a dramatic climax, and that's going to compel us into the next chapter, into the next scene from there. So let's just read this bit again. So she starts by saying, you know, there's a story we tell children about a troublesome tanuki who plagued an honest farmer for days on end. One day the farmer laid a trap and caught the tanuki. He tied the tanuki up, and told his wife not to untie it before he got back from the market and made a soup. Cry and cry did the tanuki to be let free. That needs something there. Now the farmer's wife was kind and took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it did the tanuki kill her and chop her into pieces and make a soup out of her. The tanuki then shape-shifted into the form of the farmer's wife, and when the farmer came home, the tanuki fed him the soup. Right, then she summons the waiter somehow. She either rings the bell, snaps the fingers, and from the kitchen, a waiter put 2 bowls of steaming soup in front of us. The woman smiled at me. "Go ahead," she said. I glanced at the fire door again. "That's a children's story?" I asked her, but my feet were dancing under the table. The woman took a spoon of soup and licked her lips. I guess she didn't appreciate my charms. "My name is Kuri Matsumoto, Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th District Shinjuku of the great city, Tokyo." "James Sharp," I said, spooning my own soup. "Troublesome tanuki." Again, she didn't react to my charms. Instead, she continued to eat her soup. Okay, we need to work on that, but okay. Again, she didn't react to my charms. Instead, she continued to eat her soup. She sat upright, tall and proper, and all her movements looked like a ballet dancer. We sat there for 2 minutes, saying nothing. The only sound coming from our soup bowls. Right? It's the slurping of the soup, but I'll go back and do that. So how does our guy react to this sentence? He's thinking, why did this person want me? So we'll go back for that. Okay, so she eventually has to, our antagonist, she eventually has to, start to speak, because she's realizing that our guy is playing it too cool. So the puzzle box, she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table. I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. Again, this might be part of his training as some kind of spy or thief. Then he knows not to talk. He knows that silence is a weapon in a conversation. Silence is always a weapon. So use it to your advantage. He wants to get her talking, not the other way around, because at the moment he's been on the back foot the whole time. She's the one who's got him here. So again, it's just a logical thing that we're trying to keep our character true to himself. Okay, so still unsolved, I see. Right, I wanted her to do all the talking. Still unsolved, I see, she said. I don't like this "she said" there. It just doesn't seem to flow nicely. Still unsolved, I see. And she sounded disappointed. That's better. Okay, there you go. And she sounded disappointed, or with an air of disdain. Right. Then you have to use that. And she sounded disappointed. And she sounded disappointed. No, disappointed, right? And she was beginning to get on my nerves. Right, Sabrina, beginning. What have I got wrong here? It's 2 N's, right? Gosh. Right, beginning. Ignore my spelling, guys. Here we go. Still unsolved as she, and she sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same kind of tone that Sabrina used to use. That Sabrina used to use, I think is better. Used to use when I came home late from a job. Still alive then? Okay. Alright, so what is going to happen next? This is where we've got to think. And this is where a lot of times I will go wrong in dialogue, is that I try and make the dialogue, connect very well, so every line is, follows the other, but it doesn't necessarily need that. You just need to get to the point very, very quickly with the dialogue. So what can we do here? Again, I'm just thinking out my thoughts out loud here. It's a little bit weird to do that, but that's the whole point of this experiment, just to write a novel and just show you guys exactly all the steps in between, you know, how it comes together. If I may, what brings you to Japan? You know, an airplane usually. Let's try this. Maybe he just keeps making jokes until this Kuri Matsumoto eventually cracks and has to divulge information if she wants to get anywhere. So okay, that's pretty good actually. I had to keep pushing her buttons if I wanted her to talk. So now he's just explaining why he's doing these things. Okay, so I was on the back foot and needed to regain some power. Okay, right, so that's why he's doing this. It was a dangerous tactic to take. It was a dangerous tactic to take, but I needed to, you know, assert myself if I was going to get anywhere, to get any answers. If I was going to get answers. Okay, it's something like that. An airplane usually, yeah. Okay, that's it's something like that. Okay, if I was going to get answers, right? So he was. Okay. Right, so you have 2 minutes. So I do like this bit. You have 2 minutes to solve the box. Otherwise, my 2 men will kill you. Maybe she says, okay, so maybe she just, remember, if she's a loquacious type of person, then she's going to give a little history about puzzle boxes. That's what it needs. There it goes. Okay, see, just like that, the scene, the exact thing comes into play. She's a loquacious person. She loves to talk, this Kuri Matsumoto. She's obviously very intelligent. So she asks him for the puzzle box, she said eventually. And then she gives a history of puzzle boxes. This is something that I don't know, but it's something that would be very easy to research, you know, later today, and then I can come in and fill this out and make a really, really good, interesting bit of dialogue. Let's just make this. This is in the wrong font, isn't it? This needs to be in Garamond. Okay, so okay, are you following that, guys? Watch this. Just watch this, and you'll see, and everything will become clear as to what I'm doing. So, right, do you know the history of puzzle boxes? And obviously our guy doesn't. Gosh, this, come on, stick to Garamond. What's going on? Right, she said, and then she's going to give a. Okay, let me just tell you guys again another tip here. This is my first instinct, and has always been my first instinct when writing dialogue, is that, you know, do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She said, no, I said, and then she goes into, well, let me tell you about the history of puzzle boxes. Okay, that is actually a waste of a line. You don't need this. No. Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She said. You don't need your character to say no. You don't need it to be. You don't need to say every single possible line and be as true to real life as you can, right? That's less interesting. It slows down the thing. It slows down the whole page. It slows down the whole bit of dialogue. So she's going to ask the question. Our protagonist is not going to say anything. Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She said. They date back to, you know, whatever. They date back to, you know, XX. They date back to XX. The first one, it was probably like made as a gift for some emperor or something. The first one was made as a gift to the emperor. The emperor again, the emperor XX. We don't know. And then whatever she gives, and then she gives the rest of the history. The box you hold. The box. This box, and then she references the box in question. This box was made for. This box was made for somebody else. You know, it's some kind of rare antique. Was made for me, or maybe was made for me. On maybe it was a gift when she took over from when she took the position of captain. This box was made for me when I became captain of the when I became a captain. Something like that. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe our guy says actually something. Remember, our guy has a problem with women, so this maybe instead of this whole, you know, if I may, what brings you to Japan? Maybe instead of that, he's going to say like, you know, I thought all of the Yakuza captains were men, right? Or I didn't know, I didn't realize. I didn't know is better. I didn't know the Yakuza were so liberal, i.e. that they, you know, that they accepted women as captains. Remember, our guy has a problem with women, and that's something that he's going to have to learn. But maybe he does say, yes, or yeah, right? You know, yeah, I didn't know the Yakuza were so liberal. That was the first time I saw her grimace. Right? She doesn't like that. She's like, yeah, you're damn right. They're not so liberal. I had to fight my way to becoming the first female captain of the Yakuza. Again, I don't know if that's true, whether, you know, the Yakuza are in fact sexist or anything like that. I have no idea. This is going to require research. But hey, that's what the weekend is for, and that's what I am going to do. So hopefully all these things, like, you know, those postal bombs that we had back in day one, and I don't know what the date is. I'm just going to find all that out, and then we'll come back and put all that in here. But certainly this page is starting to come together now. In fact, I think we've only got about 4 or 5 lines. Just like that, we've completed this page. So, oh, and in fact, actually, we have even less than that. Okay, so 1 second. So my father, maybe, I was just going to say, Curie gives history of puzzle boxes. This box was made for me, or maybe it's like, you know, my father gave me this box when I became captain of the Yakuza. Something like that. You know, it could be like that. My father made me, I don't know, maybe it doesn't need that, but certainly we want to develop her character, you know, give her a backstory. We're going to have to figure out what her backstory is. When I became a captain of the Yakuza. Yeah, I didn't know I didn't realize it's actually better. Yeah, I didn't, that's American, so we'll stick to English spelling. So yeah, I didn't realize the Yakuza was so liberal. And then that was the first time I saw a grimace. Okay. That was the first time I saw a grimace. That was the first time I saw a grimace. Yeah, it is that line, right? He's telling us, the reader, why he's being so arrogant, why he is, you know, continuing to antagonize his antagonist. Because he needs to get answers. He's on the back foot. He needs to make a play for power. And you know, it's quite in keeping with his character. He is a he has an ego, our guy, as we've seen in the previous pages. He has an ego, and we're going to stay true to that. So, okay. So this is the thing, right? But I needed to assert myself if I was going to get answers. So, if we want to do this pressure thing, right, her two men pulled out their guns and aimed them at my head. This whole thing needs to be a little bit, you know, sharper. So, again, let me just read through this. What have we got here? So she's eating the soup. She sits tall and upright. We're just getting a better sense of who she is. Saying nothing, only sound coming from our soup. Right. The puzzle box, she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table. I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. Still unsolved, I see. And she sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same kind of tone that Sabrina used to use when I came home late from a job. Still alive then? Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? Said the 18th captain. No. Said, do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She asked me. I guess it has to be that. She asked me. They date back. No, because you don't use she asked, because she's not really asking. She's just introducing her next train of thought. So, do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She said they date back to whatever. The first one was made as a gift to the Emperor XX, whatever. So that's that. This box was made for me when I became captain of the Yakuza. I would like you to solve it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize the Yakuza was so liberal. That was the first time I saw a grimace. It was a dangerous game. It was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing her buttons if I wanted her to talk. I kept my eye on the fire door, you know, ready to make a break. You know, in a flash, you know, or whatever. Ready to make a break when needed. Something like that, right? But I needed to but I had to keep pushing the buttons if I wanted to talk. Actually, maybe this comes a bit after that. I was on the back foot and needed to regain some initiative, not power. So, right, so let's just read this through. So that was the first time I saw a grimace. It was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing the buttons if I wanted her to talk. So far, she'd been in complete control, you know, leading me here, or, you know, bringing me here, trapping me in this room, bringing me here, trapping me, whatever, in this room. So far she'd been in complete control. No, you don't need this. So far she'd been in complete control. If we continued, this only ended one way. Something like that. So it was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing the buttons if I wanted to talk. So far she'd been in complete control. She seemed to know everything about me. She seemed to know everything about me, and I knew nothing about her. I knew nothing about her. If I was gonna make progress, I had to assert myself. It's something like that. Okay. I had to assert myself. Okay. That sort of makes sense. Again, we love that when our characters are, you know, secret agents or they are experts in a field. We love to hear their thought process. We love to hear why they do what they do, and because we want to be able to do the same thing. We imagine that we could do the same thing, and if we ever get into those situations, we'll know what to do. So, okay, let's reread. How is this looking? I think it's starting to come together quite nicely, actually. And again, starting from pretty much nothing today, save a couple of ideas of, you know, where this page might go. It's starting to come together. I really don't like this first bit here. This needs to be changed. So my name is Kuri Matsumoto, Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th District Shinjuku. Again, I don't know if all that's correct, but that's an edit for later. Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th District Shinjuku of the great city Tokyo. James Sharp, I said, spooning my own soup. Troublesome Tanuki. Again, she didn't react to my provocation. Provocation. It's a long word. There's a different one. She didn't react to my wit. She didn't react to my or just again, she didn't react. Again, she didn't react. Again, she didn't react. Just continued to eat a soup. Just continued to eat a soup. She sat upright, tall and proper, and all her movements looked like a ballet dancer. We sat there for 2 minutes. Saying nothing. The only sound coming from her soup bowl. The only sound coming from her soup bowl. Or is he eating as well? I don't know. Saying nothing, the only sound coming from a soup bowl. Okay, the puzzle box, she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table. Right? But I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. Still unsolved, I see, and she sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same kind of tone that Sabrina used to use when I came home late from a job. Still alive then? Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? She said. They date back to X. The first one was a gift. Was made as a gift to the emperor. Whatever, she gives the history. This box was made for me when I became a captain, or when I became captain. Yeah, captain of the Yakuza or captain of Shinjuku. Whatever. Yeah, I didn't realize the Yakuza was so liberal. I said. That was the first time I saw her grimace. It was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing her buttons if I wanted her to talk. So far, she'd been in complete control. She seemed to know everything about me, and I knew nothing about her. If I was going to make progress, any progress, I had to assert myself. So I said my piece. So I said my piece and ate some soup. It's something like that, right? Piece and ate some soup. Okay. Right. If I may, what brings you to Japan? No, I don't like this bit. I don't think we need that. So I said my piece and ate my soup. Okay, so now she's got to really push the. She's got to really press on this puzzle box thing. So she says, "It took me 5 weeks to solve that box." She said. It told me, right, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. You will have 2. Okay. You will have 2. Okay. So maybe she. Okay, so yeah, it took me 5 minutes. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box. You will have 2 minutes. You will have 2 minutes. Otherwise my men will kill you. Again, that's heavy-handed, and that needs to be, you know, it needs to be redone. But this is essentially where I want the scene to go, where I think the scene does go. The dialogue is it doesn't go out into different places, and that's really important. Okay, it doesn't waver, right? We need a specific thread to follow in the dialogue, and in this case, it's all about the puzzle box, right? It is all about the puzzle box and what this means to her, and the fact that she knows that this Mr. Sharp, you know, it's this idea. Mr. Sharp is a thief. He's been hired to steal something that belongs to belonging to Kyuri Matsumoto, and now she's, you know, sort of presenting him with a challenge to see whether he's up to being one of her people. Otherwise, my men will kill you. You will have 2 minutes. Okay. So, let's see. Okay. Yes. So bodyguards are actually. So I'm not sure about this whole thing where he sort of lets the clock run down. Maybe he does just continue to eat his soup. I continue to eat my soup. Otherwise, my right. I continue to eat my soup. Okay. Continue to eat my soup. And let the clock, you know, run down. Okay, again, I wasn't again, right? I wasn't about to play her game. I continue again, right? So I continue to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. I wasn't about to give her any more power over the situation than she already had. And then she, you know, the bodyguards are exchanging glances. She's like, you know, she says, you know, she gets a little bit worried. You know, why isn't this guy taking me more seriously? Do you think I'm joking? Do you think I'm, you know, do you think I'm joking? Mr. Sharp? I think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp. At which point the, and aimed them at my head. She nodded to her bruisers, who pulled out their guns. Okay. So here we could maybe do the I ignored her. Okay. Do you think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? And when I ignored her, she nodded to her bruisers, who pulled out their guns. Okay. Yes. Pulled out their guns. Pulled out their guns. Okay. Something like that. It's something like that, and then So do we want this guy to throw the puzzle box down on the ground, on the floor, or throw it at one of the bodyguards? I think more realistically, he's going to throw it on the ground, right? Because he throws it at someone's head, would the puzzle box likely break off of that? I don't really know. Or maybe, or maybe he just, stamps on the puzzle box. So, okay, it's got to be one of those two things. Let's just read it again. Always helps to read it again. We're basically finished. I mean, that page is, basically finished. So, I threw the puzzle box and cracked it open. Done. Done, I said. And gave her a smile. And gave her a smile. Okay, it's that's the sort of line that we need. So that compelling last line can be either of these things. Let me just put that here. But that's starting to be the kind of thing that we need. That's exactly the kind of thing that we need there. So the bottom of the page is done. In fact, actually the whole page is done. Whoa! Let's get a little bit of a cheer for ourselves because, okay, apart from this line, this bit here, which is just an explanation, the line is done. So there's a little bit of a celebration. We have this, now we can just edit. Oh, rewriting. Rewriting is easy. Wow, okay, feels good. And in fact, because we actually have this bit of the history of the puzzle boxes, probably this is all going to be contained. Those two lines are going to go here. Those extra two lines. So yeah, this page is actually pretty much done. Let's just make it sound good. Okay, so let's maybe reread from the top of this page. We'll see what the flow is like. We'll see if it's flowing right. We'll see if we've got the pacing right. Again, one of those things that I see over and over again, I really do hate, is filler. An author has a specific word count to hit, and they just, start describing things that are completely irrelevant to the story and add nothing to it. They describe the car seats of the car, the rich Corinthian leather. They're talking about, the protagonists, they're talking about the color of the eyes, and all these things that are just irrelevant to the actual story, and which you'd never do in real life. So as I'm reading this now, I'm going to be thinking, if I was telling this story, to my friend, if I was telling this story, tomorrow to my mate John, then would I speak like this, or would I speak completely differently? So let's have a look. The place was empty except for one table in the middle of the room. The woman sitting at it looked up at me as I entered. She was young and good looking, had those long lashes and sticky red lips. She smiled. I should have run straight out of there, but two bruisers in cheap black suits stepped up behind me and blocked the entrance. The woman checked her watch and smiled her red lips. She motioned to the seat opposite her, and it really wasn't a question. Yeah. I glanced at the fire door in the far right of the room. In the far right corner, in the far right, on the... I don't know. I glanced at the fire door in the far right of the room. I might not have been as big as the bruisers behind me, but I was sure as hell faster. I thought about the homeless guy slumped against the dumpster. No doubt these two would trip over him if they tried to chase me. I joined the woman at a table but said nothing. There is a story we tell children, she said. Again, how does she speak? And if she is less sort of, very proper, very squared away kind of character, then yes, she would enunciate each word. Actually, let's just also be aware that she could be speaking in Japanese here, so you've got to keep that, you've got to factor that in. But there is a story we tell children, she said, speaking in Japanese like she knew I could understand her, about a troublesome tanuki who plagued an honest farmer for days on end. One day the farmer laid a trap and caught the tanuki. he tied the tanuki up and told his wife not to untie it before he got back from the market and made a soup. Cry and cry did the tanuki to be let free. Now the farmer's wife was kind and took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it, did the tanuki kill her and chop her into pieces and make a soup out of her. The tanuki then shape-shifted into the form of the farmer's wife, and when the farmer came home, the tanuki fed him the soup. The woman snapped her fingers, and from the kitchen came a waiter who put 2 bowls of steaming soup in front of us. The woman smiled at me. "Go ahead," she said. I glanced at the fire door again. "That's a children's story?" I asked her, but my feet were dancing under the table. The woman took a spoon of soup and licked her lips. The woman ate a spoon of soup and licked her lips. But does she slurp? No, she doesn't slurp because she's proper, right? The woman ate a spoon of soup and licked her lips. I guess she didn't appreciate and licked her lips. Maybe we don't need that, right? Because we're going to say that later. My name is Kuri Matsumoto, Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th District Shinjuku of the great city Tokyo. James Sharp, I said, spooning my own soup. Troublesome tanuki. She didn't seem... okay. My charms were lost on her. My charms were lost on her. This is just his, that sort of wit that we said that this guy has. It's a line like that. I don't know if this is the exact line that we want, but it's getting close. My charms were lost in her. She just... my charms were lost on her. She just continued to eat her soup. She just continued to eat her soup. As if, she just continued to eat her soup. Something at the end of that line, right? Okay, now he's making observations about her. My charms were lost on her. She just continued to eat her soup, as if I wasn't even there. I wasn't even there. Like a king before, like a king before a jester. It's something like that. My charms were lost on her. She just continued to eat her soup, as if I wasn't even there. It's okay, instead of like a king, like a queen before her jester, something like that. She's really just, not interested. Queen before a jester, like a queen before, maybe instead before a pauper. Something, whatever. Not before a paper, a pauper. Like a queen before a pauper. She sat upright, tall and proper. All her movements looked like a, and all her movements, she sat tall and upright. Okay, that's better. She sat tall and upright. All her movements precise, as if choreographed, by a ballet dancer. Okay, as if choreographed by a ballet dancer, something like that. All the movements precise, as if choreographed. So why is this in red? Don't know. As if choreographed by a ballet dancer. We sat there for 2 minutes and saying nothing. The only sound coming from her soup bowl. Okay. The puzzle box, she said. This needs to be tightened up. So how could this get better? By the way, isn't this so much easier than writing? Rewriting is so much easier. So this is the part where really I can relax. I've done the real hard work of the day. And now it's just a case of sharpening up these sentences. So my charms were lost on her. She just continued to eat her soup like a queen before a pauper. She sat tall and upright, all her movements precise, as if choreographed by a ballet dancer. Okay, so this, if you're going to say a ballet dancer and then you're going to say queen, you shouldn't really have two. We're starting to mix metaphors. That's not necessarily great. Not metaphors, but two different images. We sat there for 2 minutes, saying, okay, whatever. The puzzle box, she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table, but I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. Still unsolved, I see. And she sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same tone, not kind of. Again, be more, when you can be more strong with your wording, you know, don't make it kind of something, make it that exact thing. It lends more authority to your voice, and I think subliminally as well, it tells the reader that you know what you're talking about, you're confident in what you're saying. So, okay. Still unsolved, I see, and she sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same tone that Sabrina used. That was the same tone Sabrina used to use when I came home late from a job. Still alive then? Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? So, Curie said, said Curie Matsumoto. This is one thing that does come up again and again, especially from editors, is that we've only just introduced this character, this antagonist. We introduced her here, and she's only said her name once, right? Once. We've had our main protagonist. He's told us his full name only here. Okay, so the names of these characters have not yet been reinforced in the reader's mind. So when you're doing, as we continue, we want to, at least in the very beginning, make sure that these names are clear, so that the reader really gets it. They know who we're talking about. So later on, if we say Curie Matsumoto, we know who we're talking about. Everybody knows who we're talking about. So these two characters are important, and we want to make them very clear and distinct in the reader's mind. So, do you know the history of puzzle boxes? Said Curie Matsumoto. They date back to XX. The first one was a gift to the Emperor. Right? How do you spell Emperor? Emperor. Wow. Okay. The first one was made as a gift to the Emperor X whoever. Right? And then she gives a history of puzzle boxes. This box was made for me when I became a captain of the Yakuza. Yeah, I didn't realize the Yakuza was so liberal. I said, the Japanese mob. So this, okay, so why did I do that? And I'll tell you. Many times now I've explained this idea of you don't want to use terminology that might alienate any of your readers. So, you know, saying stuff like Jiffy envelope, using any kind of pop culture references or anything like that, some of your readers are not going to know what those things are, and that's going to alienate them from the story, because they're going to go, oh, what does he mean? What is that thing? And then they have to go and look it up, which is terrible. So in this case, I said I've explained what the Yakuza is for those who don't know. But I've done it in a way that is very smooth, right? It's smooth. It makes sense how it's done. This box was made for me when I became captain of the Yakuza. Yeah, I didn't realize the Japanese mob were so liberal. So if anyone doesn't know, what the Yakuza is, they immediately find out on the next line, right? They don't have to. It's not going to push someone away from the story. I highly recommend, especially if you're writing something like fantasy or anything like that. You know, sometimes you've thought about the whole thing. You've thought about every aspect of your world so well and for so long that you don't realize that, oh, I actually didn't explain what that was. And if anyone doesn't know, that's going to be a problem. So, okay, that's a bit of a long-winded explanation, but it does bear repeating. It's one of those things that I do try and keep in mind. So yeah, I didn't realize the Japanese mob was so liberal, I said. That was the first time I saw a grimace. said that. Maybe, okay, it goes there. That was the first time I saw her grimace. It was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing her buttons if I wanted her to talk. So far, she'd been in complete control. She seemed to know everything about me, and I knew nothing about her. If I was going to make any progress, I had to assert myself. So I said my piece and ate my soup. So I fired my mouth. Again, we talked about yesterday, the taxi driver, you know, he didn't look, you know, the taxi driver, he didn't just look at me in the rearview mirror, he shot me a look in the rearview mirror. Okay, it's the language that we use, those tiny little words that add to the ambiance, that add to the atmosphere that we're trying to create. And in this case, it's a thriller, so we are trying to, you know, reinforce those that danger, and we can do that just simply by the type of language that we use. So I fired my mouth and ate my soup. So I fired my mouth and ate my soup. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said. You will have 2 minutes. Before my men kill you, you will have 2 minutes. You will have 2 minutes. Otherwise, my men. I think there's maybe a line that comes in between these two. You know, it's just. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box. She said, "You will have 2 minutes." So maybe she doesn't need to say this. This is a very. This is implied, or at least it should be implied. Took me 5 weeks to solve that box. She said, "You, my little tanuki." My little tanuki. Again, just self-referencing this here before. Or it could be just, "You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes." Yeah, I think perhaps if she's... so here's the thing, right? If she's just been sort of, you know, annoyed by this guy, I didn't realize that the Japanese mob was so liberal. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said. You, my little tanuki, will have 2 minutes. So the only potential problem I see with this is this little tanuki is that if this woman is young and good looking, you know, we said that before, right? If this woman is young, then she's not going to say little tanuki to a guy who's potentially older than her. I think our character is about 35 years old. I say that simply because I'm 32, and you know, I want to read about, you know, protagonists who are about my age. That's just natural. So did we say that? We said, I think we said that, right? Yeah, she was young and good looking. Okay, I could easily make that, you know, she was old, and you know, she was old, but and good looking. Nothing wrong with that. But I think she's gonna say, "You, you, Mr. Sharp." I think we're just gonna stick with that. I can maybe make it better. "You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes." In the corner of my eye, one of her bodyguards, okay, pulled out a gun or a knife. Pulled out a gun. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. I wasn't about to give her any more power over the situation than she already had. You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. I see. Doesn't seem fair. You know, doesn't seem fair. Let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, it's got to be something like that. So you, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. In the corner of my eye, took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said. And in the corner of my eye, one of her bodyguards pulled out a gun. You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. She said. Took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said. And in the corner of my eye, one of the bodyguards pulled out a gun. You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. Okay, I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. Okay, there could be a line, a little throwaway line here. I continued to eat my soup. It wasn't bad, actually. Yeah, okay. And actually, the soup was pretty tasty. You know, even in this, you know, dire situation, our guy has an attitude. He has a wit. You know, I wasn't about to play her game. You know, he's got two guys, with, you know, standing right there. One of them has pulled the gun on him. He's got the captain of the Yakuza. He's got a captain of the Yakuza, a very dangerous woman, in front of him. The situation is dire. He has no gun himself. He only has a possible escape route, which is, you know, a fire exit over there. And he is being Mr. Cool, right? He's got jokes. He's still got jokes. And again, that tells us something about his character, the type of character that we're dealing with. And come on, I mean, we all love that kind of character, don't we? You know, the cool guy under pressure. Yeah, I mean, that's just money. That is. So, okay. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said, and in the corner of my eye, one of the bodyguards pulled out a gun. You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. I wasn't about to give her any more power over the situation than she already had. And besides, he likes that phrase. He's used that a lot, you know, and besides, the soup was pretty tasty. Okay, so obviously we don't need that bit. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. Okay, we can... That's just a more of a note for maybe, you know, tomorrow or something, because that's why she's doing this. You know, he's maybe a thief or something, hired to steal something that belongs to her, and that's why she's going through all of this preamble, because she wants to hire this guy, but only if he meets her high standards of, you know, competence. Okay, so that's the idea. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. I wasn't about to give her any more power over the situation than she already had. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. Do you think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? So in fact, okay, so this is a great... There's another reason why he can... Probably, let's be honest, no one is going to be that cool in a situation unless they have a very good reason. And again, this is a very sort of a Jack Reacher kind of thing. You'll see what I mean. If the situation is you've got two bodyguards at the door, let's say they are 20 to 30 feet away from the table. You have two people sitting at the table. One of them is, you know, who the bodyguard is trying to protect, and about, you know, the width of a table away is the guy, is somebody else. No bodyguard in their right mind is going to fire a pistol, a gun, from 30 feet at an enemy who is so close to their charge, right? Not going to happen. It's just too the potential for disaster, for shooting your own person is too high. So that's why this guy is our guy, Mr. Sharp, is going to be so cool. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play her game. I wasn't about to give her any more power over this situation than she already had. So, and besides, it was a false threat anyway. You know, it was a lame threat. Anyway, no. Right. The bodyguard, you know, wasn't going to shoot me while I was so close to While I was so close to her. It could all, yeah, it's something like that, right? And then, okay, didn't want to eat my soup. I was about to give it any more power. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play a game. Okay, and nor. Again, that word nor, I don't know about it. It's a bit of an old-fashioned word, but he seems to have used it a few times. I wasn't about to play a game, and nor, did I have to. Okay. A bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was so close to her. Right? Too high a risk. Okay, it's too high a risk, right? You could miss and kill me quite easily. Too high a risk. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. It's something like that. Again, once I read this through tomorrow, that whole paragraph will become better. But the gist is there. The soup was pretty tasty. You think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? Now she's starting to get angry, right? This Yakuza captain, right? Do you think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? I believe you. I shook my head. Maybe he doesn't speak at all. What's going on here? You think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? Okay, so let's do this. Think I'm joking. I shook my head. Think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp. What goes here? How does this line finish? So compelling line. I don't think he does make a break for the fire door now. I think it is this. You know, I threw the puzzle box onto the ground. And I threw the puzzle box onto the ground. Or maybe just does it with his fist, right? He uses the spoon, right? So, great. So, Curry raises an eyebrow. He picks his spoon up, like that, and he just goes smash, and just smashes straight through the top of this puzzle box, and it just breaks open, right? So 1 minute 30. Yeah, okay. I think that's going to be better. Right. So besides, the soup was pretty tasty. I took up my spoon. How does he do? What is that motion? I snapped up my spoon. And smashed it down. Down on top of the puzzle box. On top of the puzzle box. Smashed it down, and shattering, and smashed it down on top. And smashed it down on the puzzle box, onto the puzzle box, shattering the antique, whatever it is, shattering the antique, and busting open the contents. Okay. Done, I told her. Done, I said. Or solved. Yeah, that's it. Solved, I said. Okay, there you go. That's that last line. And now you want to find out. You got to turn the page. First of all, you are like, oh, that was cool, and second of all, you're like, wow, how is this Yakuza captain going to react to that, right? Such not belligerence, but such cheek. So okay, that's starting to sound like a page. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play a game, and nor did I have to. Her bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was so close to her. You know, as threats went, that was a pretty weak one. As threats went, that was a pretty... you know what? That's just an extra line that it doesn't need to be there. That's all obvious. Right, so I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play a game, and nor did I have to. A bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was sitting so close to her. While I was sitting so close to her. Too high a risk. No, you don't need that either. Again, it's just another bit of fat that can be trimmed away. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. Do you think I'm joking, Mr. Sharp? I shook my head. Does she say, do you think I'm joking? I'm not joking, Mr. Sharp. She wouldn't ask a question, so it could be, I'm not joking, Mr. Sharp. Or maybe she just says, you know, maybe she just looks at the watch and says, 90 seconds. 70. She just gives a countdown. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. So maybe he continues, right? You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. Okay, besides, the soup was pretty tasty. You know? What is this? You know, cayenne? You know, he's making a joke. He's still pushing the buttons. He's staying cool under pressure. You know, he's saying, well, what is this soup? Is this nutmeg? What is this, nutmeg? Again, I've got to be careful with the humor, because I don't know if this quite works. This all works, but this bit is starting to get a bit, you know, we don't get on with it, you know. So I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play a game, and nor did I have to. A bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was sitting so close to her. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. While I was sitting so close to her. Besides, the soup was pretty tasty. What is this, nutmeg? Curie glanced. Curia, you know, raised her wrist and checked her watch. You know, something like that. 1 minute 30. Something like that. Okay. I let the clock, or I counted off. I let the clock run down. Let's see if it works. Counting off 60. Counting off 90. Counting off 100 seconds. Okay, 100 seconds in my head. Then I snapped up my spoon. Right, counting off 100 seconds in my head. I finished the last spoon of my soup. Finished the last spoon of my soup, and then snapped up my spoon. Raised it above my head, and smashed it down onto the puzzle box. Raised it above my head and smashed it down onto the puzzle box, shattering the antique, shattering, and then smashed it down onto the puzzle box, shattering the damn thing, and busting open the contents. Solved, I said. Okay, that's basically it. You don't need raise to wrist, right? She just checks her watch. What is this, nutmeg? Nice. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. What is this, nutmeg, I said? Curry checked her watch. The 18th captain. The 18th captain of the Yakuza finally seemed to be on the back foot. The 18th cap. Do you mean that right? The 18th captain finally seemed to be on the back foot. Right, her teeth were clenched. You know, it's. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. Besides, the soup was pretty tasty. What is this, nutmeg, I said? The 18th captain of the Yakuza finally seemed to be she's like, you know, she's getting now frustrated. The 18th captain of the Yakuza finally seemed to be on the back foot. She checked her watch. With her jaw clenched. It's something like that. With a clenched jaw. She checked her watch with a clenched jaw. Okay, I let the clock run down, counting off 100 seconds in my head. I finished the last spoon of my soup, and then snapped up my spoon, raised it above my head, and smashed it down onto the puzzle box, shattering the damn thing and busting open the contents. Solved, I said. And that's it, and then we're into the next page. So that's it. That's kind of it. There's a few things that I need to go away and just research the history of puzzle boxes for one. But so let's just read this through, just this whole restaurant scene, and then we're done for the day. I think that's a pretty good day. Been a great week so far. Hit all the targets that have been set. So let's read this through. So the place was empty, except for one table in the middle of the room. The woman sitting at it looked up at me as I entered. She was young and good-looking, had those long lashes and sticky red lips. She smiled. I should have run straight out of there, but two bruisers in cheap black suits stepped up behind me and blocked the entrance. The woman checked her watch and smiled her red lips. She motioned to the seat opposite her, and it wasn't really a question. I glanced at the fire door in the far right of the room. I might not have been as big as the bruisers behind me, but I was sure as hell faster. I thought about the homeless guy slumped against the dumpster. No doubt these two would trip over him if they tried to chase me. I joined the woman at a table but said nothing. "There's a story we tell children," she said, speaking in Japanese like she knew I could understand her, about a troublesome tanuki who plagued an honest farmer for days on end. One day the farmer laid a trap and caught the tanuki. He tied the tanuki up and told his wife not to untie it before he got back from the market and made a soup. Cry and cry did the tanuki to be let free. Now the farmer's wife was kind and took pity on the little creature, but no sooner did she untie it, did the tanuki kill her and chop her into pieces and make a soup out of her. The tanuki then shapeshifted into the form of the farmer's wife, and when the farmer came home, the tanuki fed him the soup. The woman snapped her fingers, and from the kitchen came a waiter who put 2 bowls of steaming soup in front of us. The woman smiled at me. "Go ahead," she said. I glanced at the fire door again. "That's a children's story?" I asked her, but my feet were dancing under the table. The woman ate a spoon of soup and licked her lips. "My name is Kyori Matsumoto, Yakuza Captain 18, and she who lays claim to the 5th District Shinjuku of the great city, Tokyo." "James Sharp," I said, spooning my own soup. "Troublesome tanuki." My charms were lost on her. She just continued to eat her soup like a queen before a pauper. She sat tall and upright, all her movements precise as if choreographed by a ballet dancer. Needs work. Okay. We sat there for 2 minutes, saying nothing. The only sound coming from her soup bowl. Coming from ours. Yeah, I think it's got to be coming from our soup bowls. Coming from our soup bowls. We sat there for 2 minutes, eating soup, saying nothing, eating soup. Okay, the puzzle box. I don't know. This needs an edit. I'll do that on Monday. The puzzle box, she said eventually. I took it out of my pocket and put it on the table, but I said nothing. I wanted her to do all the talking. Still unsolved, I see. And she sounded, she said. Yeah, this has to be a she said. She said and sounded disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. Oh, sound disappointed. She was beginning to get on my nerves. That was the same tone Sabrina used. That was the same tone Sabrina used to use when I came home late from a job. Still alive then? Do you know the history of puzzle boxes? Said Kuri Matsumoto. They date back to XX. The first one was made as a gift to Emperor XX. We get the history of puzzle boxes. This box was made for me when I became a captain of the Yakuza. Yeah, I didn't realize the Japanese mob was so liberal, I said. That was the first time I saw a grimace. It was a dangerous game to play, but I had to keep pushing the buttons if I wanted her to talk. So far, she'd been in complete control. She seemed to know everything about me, and I knew nothing about her. If I was going to make any progress, I had to assert myself. So I fired my mouth and ate my soup. It took me 5 weeks to solve that box, she said, and in the corner of my eye, one of the bodyguards pulled out a gun. And in the corner of my eye, I saw one of the bodyguards pull out a gun. You, Mr. Sharp, will have 2 minutes. I continued to eat my soup. I wasn't about to play a game, and nor did I have to. A bodyguard wasn't going to shoot me while I was sitting so close to her. And besides, the soup was pretty tasty. What is this, nutmeg? I said. The 18th captain of the Yakuza finally seemed to be on the back foot. She checked the watch with a clenched jaw. I let the clock run down, counting off 100 seconds in my head. I finished the last spoon of my soup, and then snapped up my spoon, raised it above my head, and smashed it down onto the puzzle box. Smashed it down on the puzzle box, shattering the damn thing and busting open the contents. Solved, I said. Okay, so that's basically it. That's the whole idea. It does need refinement, but it's pretty good for a first draft. And that's it. Day 5, page 5 of chapter 1. We are getting pretty close to the end of the chapter, I feel. I think the end of this chapter is basically that this 18th captain of the Yakuza is going to say, I want to hire you for a job, and that's how it's going to end. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been, really great having all these comments, messages of support in the chat. So please do, like, subscribe, and support this channel in whatever way you can. And we are taking a break for the weekend, and I'm going to be back for day 6 on Monday, same time, 7 a.m. British time. That's GMT, whatever that is, wherever you are. Please do try and join us and join in with the chat.